Hello, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us to the Global Grants Info Session. This info session is specifically to talk about the faculty-led study abroad seed grants that we are offering. My name is Lauren Marigali Frere, and I'm the Director of Study Abroad. As I was saying when we were welcoming everybody in, it's nice to see a couple of familiar names and faces, but also great to welcome any newcomers to Study Abroad to learn about the process. Rocio, if you'd like to give an introduction.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Rocio Ruiz. I'm the Assistant Director for the short-term program. So my role in this office is to work closely with the faculty in developing the programs that ultimately run. So I'm also here looking at the chat in case you have any questions.
Perfect. I'm going to advance the slides. I hope everything works. Okay, so the agenda today, we're going to go over a little bit about Rutgers Global so you can learn about our office. We're going to talk about the differences between the two grants that are part of the faculty-led process. We'll go through lightly the application process for the global grants. Then we'll also touch on some of the characteristics of successful programs, the selection criteria that we're using to evaluate, and then what happens if you are awarded the grant. And this really takes us through the program proposal and development process, because I think equally, as much as you want to know about what to do in applying for these grants, you also want to know how to run and operate a program. So we've kind of split this into two phases where we're sharing information about the grant and the program proposal process. So a little bit about our office, sharing our mission statement. Rutgers Global, we seek to ensure that every Rutgers student has access to opportunities for global learning that are academically rigorous, degree relevant, culturally transformative, and empower students to make an impact in local and global communities. We kind of use that at the start of many of our presentations and times that we're in front of faculty and staff and students to talk about the things that we hold important. Who do we serve in Rutgers Global Study Abroad? We support all campuses, all 4 campuses of Rutgers universities. So while we are based physically in Rutgers, New Brunswick, our office supports study abroad that I like to say is pan-Rutgers. So we have students from all campuses doing our study abroad semester programs, and we have students participating in all of our short-term programs from all campuses. And so we also work with all deans and all departments and all faculty across. There's no limitation for who we could work with. And a little bit just about our numbers, just to become familiar with that. In 2023, 2024, we sent over 932 students on a study abroad program. They went on about 95 different programs to 43 different countries. We tend to offer more than we actually end up sending. So I think our total numbers for 23, 24 was we were offering about 130 or 140 different programs and in 50 plus locations, but it's just the semester that a student chose to study in those locations. And then specific to this for faculty-led, a good number and a reference point is we served over 500 students who participated in faculty-led programs. And I think in that same cycle, there was about 38 faculty that ran study abroad programs with us through the summer, winter, or in one of the embedded terms. So just a little bit of a numbers perspective. To talk through today, I wanted to create a slide that highlights kind of the 2 options for the seed grants. We've created 2 different distinct categories that faculty can apply for funding for. The first category is the site exploration grant, and then the second option is the program implementation grant. So I created this chart to sort of outline what are the differences and who best kind of fits in each of these categories. So we really see that first category, the site exploration grant, as one where the faculty may not have recently been to the destination or doesn't have as much local on the ground contacts, or is really looking to see if the location or site or partner is viable to take a group of students. Some of you may have traveled pretty frequently to the destination you are thinking about launching a study abroad program, but maybe you're in that location looking at it from your research angle or your family or personal connections, and you aren't evaluating the location from a perspective where you're going to be taking a group of students. So we wanted to offer an opportunity for a site exploration grant. So the primary purpose of that is to explore this as a potential location. The use for the funding can be seen this as a scouting trip to meet with local partners, establish connections, and assess all the things that goes into leading and building a faculty-led program. Who this is intended for, faculty considering a new location, or maybe even a different aspect of a location that you've currently taken students to. We are setting the award for this one as an up to $3,500, and this is a 1-year grant. So basically what this will encapsulate is one planning trip where you will go and build and develop and scout and research. So that's the site exploration grant. The other opportunity is a little bit different in so much as you might apply for the program implementation grant if you feel like you have the foundational knowledge of the location or site, or you're very familiar and have local expertise with this, or many of those planning and the logistics can be done in a remote capacity. And so these funds that you can apply for kind of work to defray and offset the cost of the overall study abroad. So what is this? The purpose of the implementation grant is to establish or launch a program where you have significant experience and that you don't need to utilize scouting money, or maybe you have funding in a different capacity that you're utilizing to scout the program, and then the implementation grant will use to launch the program. So what can the funds for this grant be used for? They can be used for the startup expenses. So the faculty expenses that will exist for you as a faculty leader on the program. So all of our study abroad programs are based off of a budget where we add up all of the costs, whether they be student costs, faculty costs, activity costs, and then we divide that total number amongst the group of student participants. So at times, sometimes the faculty expenses, whether that be the lodging, the flight, per diem or salary, that is borne by the cost of the student. So using this grant can help offset those funds. So that's what we mean by faculty expenses. Also, we thought that in beginning a brand new program, sometimes when you first start out, it could be the most expensive it could possibly be because you're not maybe familiar with all of the nooks and crannies of the location, or you haven't been able to really fully assess what is the most economical housing option or transportation option. So these funds can be used to defray the costs till you're able to run the program in future iterations and you've really scouted out all of the finances related to the program. Or the funding could be used for campus recruitment. So we'll make this point several times throughout this presentation, but one of the best ways to keep a faculty-led program at an affordable price is having as many students as possible participating on the programs. So programs that run full with at least 10 to 12 students are cheaper than the programs that are trying to make with 5, 6, 7 students. So we can think about ways for you to use the program implementation grant to capture campus recruitment, marketing strategies, recruitment, holding events, and utilizing the funds in that way. So again, this is intended for faculty who have prior experience, who maybe have received a site exploration grant in the past. And the award cycle for this one is up to $6,500 for 2 years. So that's basically that number split across 2 years. So we also value sustainability in running programs. And so we've divided up the fact that you can utilize this funding for a 2-year time period. So let's say you're doing a summer program, you're going to run it with us in summer 2026 and 2027. You'll get $32.50 for each year. So hopefully that outlines kind of the differences between the two grants that we have offered. All right, just a little bit about the application process. This is all done through our Salesforce application. After you've logged in, you'll land on this first page that you will collect the proposal title for the program, the project duration. It'll ask questions about the total request for funding. In most cases, most faculty request all of the funding, but if you are earmarking this for a specific need or your needs are less, you can put a little bit lower number than the maximums that we have shared. Page 1 also has a spot that will ask you about cost sharing. Do you have access to any funds from your department? Are there other grants or resources that are going towards this program or project? It also will then have a spot for demographic info, then your name, title, campus, department, etc. We're collecting information about you, the faculty leader, point of contact. And then you'll upload a fully signed cover sheet that highlights the endorsements for this program. Then on page 2, after you've submitted all of that, you'll get to the heart of the information that we want to know about your program. So you're going to provide us with a proposal summary, which is basically a blurb, 150 words about your study abroad program. So it's not about the planning trip or the exploration or what you're going to do with it. We're asking you to provide a summary of what your proposed project is, what your study abroad program is. Think of it as like a little bit of your elevator pitch about the program. Page 2 will then also invite you to upload a project description. We've put a 3-page max to that, and then there's certain categories that I'll go over in the project description of what goes into those 3 pages. But then the last part of the overall submission process is the detailed budget/budget narrative. I will say this is an area for this grant that's less concerning to us because if you're applying for an exploration grant, your budget narrative might be quite simple. I want my flight covered. This is how much I'm going to spend on housing. And then this is some of the activities that I'm going to do and covering my transportation. And so that will quickly and easily and clearly add up to the total amount. For the program implementation grant, the budget narrative might look a little differently, particularly if you're going to go routes where you're going to utilize this for campus recruitment or have other ideas, or you want to incorporate fun activities in your program that you're hoping that this grant can offset. So in those cases, the budget narrative, it might look a little different. But don't be intimidated by this part of the process, particularly for the faculty-led grants. We just want to know that you've researched, you know what it costs to fly there, and that you're realistic with being able to achieve the objectives of your goal with the funding that is provided. All right, and so this is the program, the project description. This is that 3-page max. It's broken down. If you look on the website in the categories, there's kind of an outline of what we're actually looking for. There's the first is the statement of need. What that is a rationale for your proposed for or purpose of your program. The second is a program objective. This is where we would like you to share your learning goals for the study abroad program that you want to create, and how it ties to departments or your curricular learning goals. Then the project design, we've outlined a couple of extra areas: the design, the methodology, the timeline for the program. Is it going to be a 2-week program? Is it going to be a month-long program? Is this going to be a service learning program? Is there going to be an internship component? A list of activities. You can even go as far as sharing with us an itinerary if you've gotten that far in planning, planning that out. Success measures and a plan for evaluation for the program. The other categories being innovation. How is this unique? How is this program unique? We call study abroad a high impact practice. So the other thing helpful to highlight is describing how this how you envision this being a high impact learning activity for students. And then potential benefit for partnerships. So who are your partners that you're working with? How are you working with them? What are you doing? Outlining that is important. And then I really want to focus as well on the last one, the sustainability plans. It takes a lot of effort and work to build programs. We want to make sure that the programs that we're supporting, that we're giving funding to, and that we're working with you to support, that you have a long-term vision for this. We don't want faculty to approach these programs as a one and done opportunity. So we want to see that you have a sustainability plan and that the program has longevity in its future, whether it's with you as the faculty leader or you're creating a sustainability plan for other faculty to pick up the program and work on that. All right. I just made a chart, and it should be the 9 key elements for successful programs. And so I broke them down into kind of 3 buckets. The first is the ones that are in red or the beginning are the ones that you definitely should be incorporating into your proposal. So we will know this program is viable and can be very successful if it has strong curricular alignment, if it has deep cultural immersion and local engagement, if it has that sustainability plan and vision for the future. I have individual slides that go through each of these in depth. So this is what I'm talking about. At the time of the proposal, you want to lay this groundwork. You want to demonstrate to us that you're thinking through these things. And in knowing that, we know you've laid a strong foundation for success. So curricular alignment, local engagement, and sustainability. Not going to read through that. I kind of put all of this out there because this slide deck will be shared as a resource for you, so you can kind of go through those points. The second kind of category that are things that you should still touch on or think about touching on in your proposal, but we also want to share that we will work on this together. The Rocio, our business office, Kara Amaratis, our director of global travel safety and security. We are here to help you build a safe and sound program that is budget conscious and supports a diverse group of students. So these are other elements that we want you to think about. And if you have if you've defined this, please do incorporate that into your proposal plan, but also in knowing that these are successful characteristics, know this is what our office does. This is what we will do. We will work with you on those elements. And this is specifically for the program, not the planning of the program. And then the last kind of bucket of characteristics is kind of the stuff that happens on the ground, and it's the faculty's commitment and enthusiasm to running the program. One thing that's important to impress upon faculty who take on leading a study abroad program, it's important that you know that your role it goes well beyond just being the professor of a course. You become we say you put on many hats. You become mother, father, best friend, translator, budgeter, financer. You become a lot when you take on these roles. Students are sometimes out of their comfort zone for the first time. Sometimes this is their first time away from home, and there are all different needs that students might have for their travel, for them on these study abroad programs. So know that in this role as program director, you're going to be wearing many hats. We work with you, we train you, we try to have lots of opportunities for discussions about those other roles. But we wanted to put that out there on the onset as you're thinking about applying for a study abroad grant. Collaborative partnerships, that you want to make sure that the programs that you're building are reciprocal, that you add value to the local community. And then the last thing as well is built-in reflection and assessment. So strong programs have that and have a time for reiterating and rethinking about the program. So those are kind of the characteristics that I've shared. Now, the criteria for the grant and the evaluation, this is publicly there on the website, but I will say for those of you now in attending this session, those 9 key characteristics are also the things that I'm going to be looking for. So some of them are listed here as here providing significant cultural immersion, the curricular alignment, inclusion, as well. And then that last piece, that capacity for at least 12 students. We put that because we want the programs to be affordable, but also accessible. We do have caps on numbers of students that programs should take, and we'll definitely be working with you and guiding you on that. So there is a limit. And then after that, maybe if you reach the limit, then we tell you, okay, well, now we need to think of another faculty member or another point person to join you on that. But we want you to be thinking of the fact that you're building programs that can hold capacity, that can support growth, that can work to get more students out and about. All right, I'm going to turn the mic over to Rocio now.
Yes, thank you. So I guess this next section is really what happens after. So I don't know, does anybody have questions about the items that Lauren was explaining before, about the actual application for the grant before we move on? We'll have more time later as well. Yes, I think Lynette.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So for the site exploration grant, for the beneficial partners, are we just going to put who we'd hope to be a partner, because the whole point is to get there and to solidify the partnerships? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. As much detail as you have. I realize everybody's probably at different stages. Sometimes people already have been working with that current partner, and now they are going to visit to make sure that it is the right fit. So so you can put your potential partners, you can put alternative partners that you've also researched, because what you submit is also kind of demonstrates to us the groundwork that you've already laid for the program to be successful. So maybe you said, I've researched this is my ideal partner, and I've not counted this one because that doesn't fit this parameter, or they don't offer that. So even showing things that haven't worked can be helpful, can demonstrate good things to us.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? If not, I'll just continue. So as I was saying, this now the next part of the presentation is kind of what happens next. And I did want to clarify a few things. One, is that if you are awarded this type of faculty-led seed grant and ultimately come back and decide to run your program, it will be run through our office. And so you'll be working with me directly and our short-term team. Another thing, I'll skip to the last bullet point on here too. It is okay to come back from this exploration trip and realize, you know what, I don't think that location is going to work. That there's no penalty for that. We'd rather know in advance, right? Than actually like force something that is not feasible. And being awarded or selected for the seed grant does not automatically mean that your program will be approved. When you come back from the exploration trip, you still have to complete the steps for the program proposal and that timeline. We're going to go into all of those details. But just because your exploration trip worked out, it does not mean that the faculty-led study abroad program will be automatically successful. We hope so, but there's going to be more things to consider, such as risk can become a factor. The course curriculum committee has to approve the course in advance, and perhaps the timing of when you come back from that exploration trip means that yes, you can run that program, but it won't be until the next cycle because we are too late in that year cycle, for example. So just wanted to clarify that. And this is the timeline that I'm referring to. As you can see, we run faculty-led programs, summer, fall embedded, winter, and spring embedded. For anybody not familiar with the embedded terminology, these are courses that happen during, so the actual course happens during the regular fall or spring semester. This is an on-campus 2-3 credit course. And there is an additional study abroad component that is worth 1 extra credit that will happen during an official break. And we call them 2+1 or 3+1 because the students have to do both. They can't do one and not the other. They have to have taken the class on campus in order to qualify to be eligible for the study abroad program, and they have to have been accepted into the study abroad program in order to register for the on-campus course that semester too. And in terms of the timeline and the deadline, we typically work backwards. So starting at the bottom, we know how much time we need to prepare these programs, when they're going to run, when do we need to have orientation and the students registered and the students enrolled in insurance, when do we have to collect deposits so that we can start paying the deposits, paying the invoices, yes, and deposits for our vendors. And so that continues and we work backwards until we land at our program proposal due. But if you will notice right there in red, this all starts with having your course approved by your course curriculum committee. So, and I know that works differently depending on each department. So these are different timelines that you will have to manage and maybe even juggle in order to get everything in place at the right time. So the next slides, I'm just going to briefly go over the ABCs of how to develop a faculty-led program. So we like to start with a preliminary meeting with Lauren, myself, just to discuss your initial idea, see where you are in the process, and we can let you know, like, oh, well, did you already visit the place? Do you have a partner? If not, these are grants that you can apply to. Have you submitted your course to the course curriculum committee? And so all of that will be like more of an informal or initial meeting with one of us. Ideally, there will be a site exploration, and we have checklist from a program proposal checklist and the risk management checklist that will help you guide you when you land in your host destination. Like, what is it that I'm looking for? What is it that I need to take into consideration? The course curriculum committee is a step. And then finally, as I was saying, submitting the program proposal. That is the program proposal that goes directly to me, and then we evaluate in this office and make sure that everything is checked. That program proposal also requires the signatures of your dean and chair as applicable, or undergrad program director. There's different signatures depending on the program that you're proposing, as we need to know that your department is behind you offering this program, and also with the students earning credits in that major or minor, in that degree. Once we get those things settled, we're going to start building the program. So we're going to talk about who's the student profile, who's the best candidate for this type of program, who are you trying to recruit and attract to your program. For this, we also use a web page development, which is housed in our Rutgers Global Study Abroad website, where students can see all of the information that they need in terms of the program and the finances, scholarships available, learning objectives. And we will also create a portal that will allow us to manage the student application, and you will have access to that. The budget is very important. That's going to be the number one question from students. Everybody wants to travel. Everybody wants to study abroad and participate in these very special opportunities, but it has to be accessible to them. So determining the professor to student ratio, what expenses are going to be included, what expenses are going to be out of pocket, how long are we going to be there, how many cities we're going to visit, how much are we moving around from one city to another, what kind of funding opportunities are there, whether they're outsourced, outside grants and subsidies, department support, and also making sure that any cost-saving measures do not compromise the quality or the safety. This is really important. And we start recruiting for the program really early, because at the end of the day, if you don't get enough students for the program, then it just doesn't run. And it's just a sad day for everybody, because a lot of work, as you can see, a lot of work is put into this. So for that, we have a study abroad fair. Sometimes we've had two. We have smaller fairs as well on different campuses, information sessions, class visits. Our email campaigns are very targeted and studied and planned out throughout the year. And we also create flyers and use social media and everything at our hands to promote the programs and recruit for them. Accepting students is something that is done in partnership with you. We serve as a first filter to make sure students complete all the required steps and that they meet the minimum requirements that you have set in advance, whether that's a language requirement, a GPA requirement, or having prerequisites of courses they have to complete before they can apply or be eligible. And then we send that to you, say these group of students are eligible, review their applications, let us know, who do you want to accept, who you want to reject, who do you want to waitlist. And we then take that information, pass it on to the students and let them know what the next steps are. Once our cohort is finalized, we know how many students are going, everybody's paid their deposit, it's time to start preparing to go. And that means trainings for the faculty. There's a very special risk management training that is done in partnership with Kara Emeritus. There's a finance training that our business office offers. And also we give you student information that's going to be important for you, such as their medical information that they've chosen to disclose, whether they need any special accommodations, their emergency contact, then their flight itineraries. And we also conduct orientations for students, health and safety, that's a big one, but also then we ask you to offer a program-specific orientation where you're going to go into detail about the program and telling students what they need to know to be successful in the program. Running the program, it seems so far away at this moment, but it comes quick. And it's a matter of in-country orientations to set expectations with the students. The faculty has to accompany the students on all the activities, evaluate their work. And even when they have free time, if there's any free time built into the program, which depends on the length, we ask that you suggest what activities they could do, because sometimes they seem a little lost and they're not as willing to explore on their own. Another big piece of this is expense tracking to make sure that it matches what we've budgeted as much as possible, and safety measures, emergency support, which is something that we really go into in the risk management training for faculty. And once you return, we have the welcome back email that asks you to submit your expense management within a couple of weeks, submit the grades that we then put on the students' transcripts with the correct course number. And we like to meet and debrief what went well, what is going to change. Do you want to run the program every year? Do you want to run it every other year? Is another faculty going to step in for the next year? That also happens. So basically just use insights to improve. And that's it. It's a lot. It sounds like a lot. So if you have questions, and I bet a question is going to be if the slides are going to be shared. Yes. Because I know it's a lot to retain.
I have another question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
With winter classes, I know the summer options that students can't use financial aid. Can they use it for the winter option?
There's no financial aid per se in the winter. There's some scholarships available. Some students, depending on the student, if EOF has funding available, they might help their students. But the winter is a difficult term to run a program because students really are going out of pocket or, taking out loans.
Okay, so winter, summer, out of pocket, embedded, they can use their financial aid.
And the summer, there's a little bit more financial aid available because there's summer financial aid, right? They just have to be enrolled in at least 6 credits. So some students will take a regular on-campus class and then add a study abroad course that is worth maybe another 3 credits to qualify. But lately, summer financial aid has been a little iffy. So it's something to consider as well. The difference, I believe, with the summer and the winter is that for summer programs, there's a little bit more time for students to plan, and they seem to remember that they need to apply for outside scholarships better than with the winter. So that seems to help.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Happy to field those.
I think I'm just having the hardest time understanding or figuring out like when would be the best time to go. It seems like fall is not really a good time because there really isn't any substantial amount of time available for students to travel. And
Just a winter break.
Okay.
Yeah, so fall embedded courses travel over winter breaks just so they overlap with full-on winter programs. The difference is that the fall embedded have to take a class on campus, and we bill the student for the study abroad program in their fall term bill, which allows for them to use financial aid if they receive any. And so that is a big difference with winter. But
Yeah.
you were interested in Ireland, right? So Ireland winter, I don't know. Maybe not the best.
Yeah, I was also going to point out if you're thinking about a summer program, one thing to point out for study abroad is we don't have to operate within the Rutgers summer session terms. So you can design your program to run at whatever dates work for the program's activities and your planning and your schedule. So it doesn't have to fit nestled in summer session 1, summer session 2. We can work with our own dates or the dates that are defined for that. One just also caveat about curriculum and time and length. I like to use the 3 weeks, 3 credits, 6 weeks, 6 credits. That sort of establishes the appropriate amount of contact hours for students to earn that amount of credits in that time period. Yes, we certainly do have programs that run a little bit shorter than 3 weeks that are offered for 3 credits, but then we are working with faculty to intentionally plan before activities, gathering times, readings, assessments, or post-program activities that happen. So the 3 weeks, 3 credits sort of works out for the contact hours. We also have been working to develop a little bit of a rubric to guide that, because a contact hour in study abroad can sometimes look a little differently than a contact hour in your classroom. And so that too is where where having us work and see your itinerary is helpful, so we can make some suggestions. Because yes, dinner can count as a contact hour if intentional activities are planned, if you're having a debrief or you're having a discussion, or you're doing a little language exchange over dinner, if that's incorporated as a part of your program. So we can find contact hours in unusual places in study abroad.
I'm sorry for being dense, but can you explain that a little bit more? The 3 weeks, 3 credits, like.
Yeah. So we don't want faculty proposing to the thought that they could fit in a 6-credit program in 2 weeks. That's just not realistic. We've had people try, so that's why we say it. So in a way, if you count, being 8 to 5, 9 to 5 kind of work hour or program hour, in 3 weeks, you will probably add up to the appropriate number of contact hours to offer 3 credits on your study abroad program. And so 3 weeks, 3 credits. You probably could achieve, it depends on the types of the activities that you're doing. You could probably do about 5 weeks for 6 credits, but I just kind of thinking about that, also when faculty incorporate free time, if you have a full free day, that's losing about 8 hours of contact time that could be devoted to that. So even when planning and building the itinerary, you have to make sure you're meeting the minimum contact hours.
So, and I'm sorry if other people have other questions, I didn't want to monopolize. So are you talking, when you're saying this 3 weeks, 3 credits, six weeks, are you talking specifically about summer? So the 2+1 is that you were describing before, that would be like the spring and fall. You've got, they have 2 hours per week of class time. And then at the end of the semester, during winter break, they spend a week in Ireland, let's just say. And that's one approach versus 3 weeks entirely 3 weeks in Ireland could be a whole program by itself. And there's no, or you could have, and I think Rocio, you mentioned this before, you could do a week of class time and then 2 weeks abroad or something like that. Am I understanding? Okay.
Yep. There is a lot of flexibility in that front.
And we have examples of all these models on our website too, with faculty doing, and even sitting in on the website. It is a summer course. These are the travel dates. This is when you need to be available online every day for like 3 hours because we're meeting the week before or something like that. So yeah, there's flexibility as long as the contact hours are met. It's fine.
And there's something being organized to explain to us what exactly Global considers a contact hour. Because I just put in a chat, each course that we teach is roughly 40 hours of contact with students. So if we're with students for a week or two in another location, theoretically from sunup to sundown, doing some sort of activity, I just wanted a little bit more clarification on what would count.
Yeah, I could email you the draft that we had put together. It hasn't made its full blessing with the SAS curriculum committee. In a weird way, we because all of our legacy work is with Rutgers New Brunswick SAS, we kind of default to them to help us review a few things. So we've put together about a document that talks about how experiential learning and study abroad translates into credit hours. So I can share that with you. I tried for all I was worth at times to create a rubric where you could just plug in your activity, but it did require a lot of manipulation. So you might have to do the rubric with me rather than me sending off the rubric for you to do yourself. I haven't fine-tuned that just yet, but I have the document that sort of explains the rationale for it. That I can
And
share.
would that also be applicable for SAS Newark campus?
I mean, it's the Carnegie standards of credit hours, so
Got
it
it.
really is for everybody. It doesn't mean, but we just wanted to pass that through a curriculum committee, and that was our natural alliance.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Hyacinth.
So for let's say the 2+1 kind of option. So I'm in the business school, right? And when I've been talking with various faculty, and I'm in the Department of Supply Chain Management. So this whole idea of offering a course that goes across, Newark versus New Brunswick, because those are technically different programs, and like blah 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 blah, all this other stuff. I'm also interested in possibly making the program available to the nursing school, to healthcare professions. Like, I realize that gets into the whole curriculum approval process and all of that. So maybe you're not the right people to be asking about that. Maybe that depends on the department. But do you know anything about how difficult it is to get courses that can be offered widely like that to help with enrollment, possibly?
So let me just share the framework for what happens about how we set up courses, how we register students, and then how we transcribe courses. So I did mention we have this legacy relationship with SAS. So when all students join a study abroad program, they're then registered in a study abroad course that's under our purview. So it's an 01, School of Arts and Sciences, 959 is study abroad, and then the next 3 digits is a location. So all students going to Italy have one set of the next 3 digits. All students going to Ireland have the next 3 digits. All students going to Argentina have the next 3 digits. So 01, 959, 302, 304. And then they are registered for that. That becomes our billing mechanism for students and our enrollment mechanism. So it gives them the 3 credits, the 6 credits for them to start to access their financial aid, to claim enrollment for continuing. But also then we attach our billing code to that. So they're billed $3,000 for your program, if that's what it turns out to be. Then what happens after that is up to you, the department, and what you're actually seeking. So what our main suggestions are is that you design the syllabus for the department you belong to, that you represent, and supply chain approves it for supply chain credit. And they will give it a course number that we will then transcribe for the students upon return. So that 01959 doesn't get replaced, but your course will then get added to it. So if you're New Brunswick Business 33, whatever the supply chain designation is, and then the course after it. So they'll always have the study abroad placeholder on their transcript, but then your course, because it was an approved supply chain course, is that course. If students want or if you find a large grouping of students coming from a different area, let's say sociology, and it matches with a course that sociology offers. If sociology wants to approve the syllabus to count as that credit, or if nursing wants to count that because they have an experiential learning course or something tied to it, they can approve that course to fit under their designation so they can get signatures. So we can have students enrolling in the same program. But then ultimately at the end of the day, these students will get credits in this area, these students will get credits in that area. So that's the transcription element that we take care of. After the fact, there still can be some degree navigator manipulation that happens. Like a student could go to their anthropology undergraduate program director and say, I really think this mapped. So they could pick up your syllabus and talk to their advisor and say, hey, can this fulfill this credit for me? And then inside of degree navigator, that advisor can manually change that if they deem it to be satisfied. Our preferred method is to really start out with advertising it as fulfilling these credits, because that's how you're going to get the most grouping of students, because your program fulfills degree requirements in nursing and in supply chain or supply chain or something. So you really want to start out with the widest net and getting approvals from the appropriate curriculum committees in each of those areas. And then when it comes time to registration, or after registration happens, when you submit grade reports to our office for us to transcribe it, you can say these students took it for supply chain credit, these students took it for nursing credit. So that's kind of the structure and framework for it.
Okay. And you said you have something that describes that?
Well, we have examples on our website of programs, nothing that describes it so succinctly and clearly. Just kidding. No, but we're happy to talk with you, because honestly, this is probably one of the biggest things that Rocio and I just spend time figuring out. And perhaps because we don't have that document is because it's ever evolving. And what happens too is with students coming from all Rutgers campuses, there's different rules and procedures and different terms that happen. And then there's legacy Rutgers and then there's the banner system for RBHS students. So we're also learning lots of new things as we go in that.
Great. Thanks so much. That's very helpful. One other thing, for non-tenure track faculty, I know there's some kind of support letter that needs to come from department chair. Do you have templates for that or anything? Or what needs to be?
Joanna, I might turn that question over to you.
You were going to ask that question. No, that actually, there's no template for it. The letter just needs to say that you will be employed throughout the duration of the grant. That's it. So,
That's
just
not even-
assurance.
That's just the grant. Like if I get the grant and I'm able to go, and then, I'm employed all that time, but then somehow I get fired, or like my appointment doesn't get renewed, and then the program doesn't happen. Like it's not, what am I trying to say? It's really for the purpose of this grant and not for the entire program. Because like you said, the program might not even happen even after.
That I see what you're saying. So this would be the case for any grant, actually, not just this one. Whoever, either your department chair, director of the center, whoever it is, just needs to say that you will be employed for the duration of the grant and the ability to run the program, because why would you, I can't say, we've had one case where somebody left. But that's unusual. Most people are in the position to write this, and then, and generally it helps their contract anyway. I did want to just say one thing to follow up about the idea of offering something to other campuses. If you think that is a possibility that you want to do ahead of time, start the conversation now, as early as possible, because that way you will know, you'll have a general idea of what the students in the other school or the other campus will need to do. And it will really help a lot just to know that ahead of time. And I'm not saying that because I've done a faculty-led study abroad program. I've done a different kind of program, and knowing what the students needed, it also helped with advertising for the other students, and it was just much easier that way.
Well, dare I conclude?